Welcome back, everyone. Jerry Pitts, Lima Attorney, is with us today. We're continuing our discussion on affirmative action when it comes to the admissions process at several major colleges have popped up in the headlines regarding this. Does the trend itself scare you that more of these are going to pop up around the country?
Well, yes, and what I'm really afraid of, I think it's probably one of the last things standing as to the affirmative actions and things that occurred from 1965. So most of the other things, such as the set-asides, the other employment type set-aside situations where they requested so much percentage of employment and all that to exist for minorities, all of that is gone. The only thing that's standing now is a reasonable preference as to admissions. Once that is gone, which I'm pretty sure it is going to go, and I'm thinking the Supreme Court at some point, well, that's what makes what's happening with the Supreme Court so interesting now, because that vote may be the one that get to go one way or the other. But as to the affirmative actions, they're saying, and I believe it's going to end up, if it's not with state by state, where the Supreme Court tries to get away from and say, let the states decide. If they decide they don't want it, then it's okay. But if that should be the case, we're going to see a real adverse effect as to the education programs as to minorities of all kinds. And we're even including women.
It seems so odd to, and I understand on major decisions like that, they've said let the states decide. But I feel like if you do that and you don't have a uniformity, aren't people just going to say, well, I guess I'm not going to school there, I'll go here? And I mean, as far as tuition and bringing people in?
The only scary part about that is out-of-state tuition.
Yeah.
And that's going to really hit a lot of families, and people don't understand. Tuition is not going down, it's going up. So therefore, what you used to could get for a master's or a PhD, that just basically gets you 4-year education, in some places 2.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the scary part, and I think those trends are going to continue, and especially if it goes state by state, because you got to look at what we're looking at now with that Senate Bill 215 that the governor may have just signed, that says it goes hand in hand with stand your ground, but at the same time it says, well, we don't need to do all these checking and going to training and all this. Let's just say you have a right. If you got a right to carry a gun, you got a right to carry a gun, even if it's in public.
Let me ask you, there was a state lawmaker, I want to say from Florida, I can't remember.
That is where.
Yeah, well, this is back to the affirmative action, and he had said something regarding, he said the initial idea behind affirmative action was to even the playing field and reverse these trends that kept minorities out over the years. His premise was, we've done that. We've solved the problem. Now let's go back to, I don't want to say the way it was. And I think that was the reporter's question, was to the way it was. I mean, when he says that, is there any merit at all to that it was a temporary fix?
Well, it's almost impossible to have an even playing ground this early, and particularly when you use those factors that's supposed to be positive for minorities. Now you use those factors to exclude. So therefore, until time has passed, well, we have generations such as what I pointed out in the affirmative action as for Harvard, that if your parents went here, then you can go here.
Right.
Then you're
generations of the
Right. We don't have those generations yet of minorities who are attending universities and et cetera, so that they can have that kind of leeway.
Right. The guy that spoke out against him, and I'll leave it with it, they were in a debate situation, and he said the idea behind affirmative action wasn't to reach a certain number or quota. It was, as you said, to reverse a way of thinking, not to get to a certain number and say, okay, we did it. Let's go back to the way we were.
And it's in an effort to what you call evening the playing field.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll pick up Governor DeWine's bill about the carry next time,
Definitely
right? Okay,
next
sounds good. Thank you, Jerry.
You.
Appreciate it. Doug Medical News coming up next on In Addition.